Happy Saturday, everyone. Possibly Sunday, depending on where you are in the world. It's a beautiful day here in California, as you can tell by my backdrop. Waves and hugs, as always, to everyone. So, have another great question today. Thank you for submitting, and it's really exciting because they really go to the heart. These questions go to the heart of our happiness and our joy and what we're doing here in this life on this planet. And so somebody asked, I just started finding myself. Why couldn't I be me sooner? So it's a great question. The answer is you've always been finding yourself. So there's nothing that happens in life that isn't a reflection of who we are, how we're responding, how we're reacting, both in positive and negative ways. Our reactions to our environment constitute our reality, and that's all we experience is a reflection of ourselves. You can see the same situation happening in two people who are in the exact same place, interpret it completely differently. And that's because, or growing up in the same house, interpreting life, their lens on life is completely different. And that's because we have different reactive makeup from which we feel triggered for the negative things, but also the positive things. If we didn't react to these things, we wouldn't even notice them. So the first thing is to understand that everything we react to is what constitutes our reality. And from there, you can then follow that everything that happens is a reflection of our own evolution. So as we react to things, again, both good and bad, it's not just related to the negative things. That's how we move forward through life. So even though you may think that there's been a recent, acceleration in your self-awareness and self-realization, which may absolutely be, but it doesn't mean it always hasn't been happening, because it has. It's been happening since day one and probably even before that. So the mind likes to think that, it thinks about the future and the past. It tries to connect the dots because that's what the mind does. It likes to know things, right? It always seeks to fill the next unknown thing with something known, even if it has to make it up from scratch, and whatever it is, project the known into the unknown. That's what the mind does, because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to know things. So when we live life through the mental lens, then we fall into these situations where we think, why couldn't it have happened sooner? And you're looking back, you're also projecting into the future. Why can't I get there faster? And so this future and past experience of life is the mental experience of life, because when we're not in our head, but instead we're in our body, then this future past dimension doesn't exist. We exist in our body. Being is now. That's when you're present, when we're in our body, out of our head. So for that, I would say a daily practice that takes you out of your head enough to offset all the times that we do spend in our head, right? Head is great for organizational matters, for practical matters, for planning. Like if you need to book a flight next week, then you need to plan and use your head for that. But it's not. It's a tool. It's not the source of wisdom and self-knowledge. And so that inner voice lives in our body, as we've talked about in the past. And from there, our guidance system comes into play. From there, we derive direction and purpose. So it's important to balance out all the headspace activity that we spend most of our time in with enough body presence and body awareness. So those who are following me for a while know that thought awareness is one of my favorite practices in my self-care practice, and that is to literally practice becoming aware of your thoughts. And the moment you become aware of a thought, it loses its grip on you. You're no longer identified with it. And when you're no longer identified with it, then it doesn't like have you don't follow it, and it leads to another thought and another thought, and you don't get lost in thoughts for 10, 20 minutes at a time before you snap out of it and you come back. And then the next thought comes along and you kind of believe it and you're glued to it and you're identified with it and you follow that one. And that one leads to these stories that we follow in our heads. And so we're never really in our body to experience the present moment and how we feel and our feelings and the sensations of our feelings in our body. And that's really the clue to being able to allow feelings, good and bad, to pass through us, and so that we can go to a higher ground in terms of letting life flow, and then we start flowing with it, and then all the good stuff happens, all the magic happens. So your life has always been happening. You've always been finding yourself. It may just be more noticeable more recently, and you've turned more inward recently, and thus it seems like maybe before you weren't on this path, but you were. And as we all know, we learn probably most from the not so happy, not so pleasant experiences, but they all point to what we do prefer and what we want, and what resonates deeply within. So nothing is for nothing. You cannot misstep. We cannot fail. We're always on a path, and veering off the path is as much part of the path as being on it. In fact, that is the path, the constant veering off, where we spend most of our time there, so that it can there's a course correction can happen, and that's life. And somewhere along the way, we become more and more identified with who we truly are, and we recognize our blueprint, and from there, a deeper, permanent joy and happiness arises. So, a quick shout out to everyone. Hi guys, Joy, Felicity, Carla, Ida, Tess, Tay, Lily. Thank you. Many waves, many hugs. Thank you for joining, as always. I hope that was helpful, Shivani. And have a wonderful rest of your Saturday or Sunday, wherever you are, and weekend. And we will see ourselves soon. So, as always, be happy, be free, be you.